Alone versus lonely, where one would think that the elderly are the most lonely population on today's planet. Studies have actually proven that young people are the most lonely. Since 1985, the number of people in the US with no close friends has tripled. And this is due to the rise of internet and, ironically, social media. So as we are in this pandemic of social isolation, it's important to understand that your social interactions is about quality, not quantity. So let's differentiate the two. Alone is when a person is physically alone by him or herself. It's a state of solitude, where lonely is when a person feels abandoned or sad due to isolation. It's a state of mindset. And so you can be alone without being lonely. This is why there's a difference in an introvert versus an extrovert personality trait or type. Um, and so, elderly people, what is the difference between elderly people and young people? Why is there a major distinction on the level of loneliness in today's society and how they operate? Well, elderly people have developed traits or habits that help them to be comfortable with themselves while being alone. They have ways to keep themselves mentally busy and are fine with relying on good memories as they relish in the peace and quiet. Calmness is a status quo for them. Where in today's society, with the young people, they have ups and downs of emotions and swings. This is typical for any child, but nonetheless, in the way we operate as humans at such a fast pace, it enhances the amount of swinging up and down. And the swinging comes from being bored or restless, which causes them to then reach for external factors to help mend that bored or restlessness because they are not trained to have the trait and status quo of functioning and being okay in a sense, in a status quo of calmness. And so here we have this child with a swing of up and down that is due to boredom or restlessness, that they then will resort to either activities or social media or TV to distract them to create a sense of happiness, but it won't fill them. The stimulus will not be the same. And so then that creates a lot of blame and enhances a sense of abandonment. This is why kids, whether they're introvert or extrovert, um, experience a lot of abandonment and shame without even any parental figure knowing or understanding. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad parent or you're a bad mentor or supervisor. It's just it's about understanding where the boredom and restlessness is showing up, and then how to be effectively creating a more wholesome experience so the loneliness doesn't trickle in. And so loneliness is important because it causes people to feel empty, alone, and unwanted. That's how they feel. That's how they're thinking and what they believe and how they feel. But yet they physically crave human contact. They want the human contact, but because of their state of mind, it makes it hard and awkward for them to get past that point to then fulfill that, and it makes it difficult to create connections. So that's why people who are lonely kind of get stuck in this like cycle of just furthering the loneliness and the depression and the anxiety and the social distancing, the social anxiety, because they are unable to make the connection, create the connection that they want because of what their mindset is experiencing about them. So Things that can cause loneliness are physical isolation, which everyone in the world is experiencing right now. Um, if if someone is struggling to make friends, whether it's a child in school or a new employee at a new company, deaths, moving to a different location, or experiencing a divorce. And that goes for kids and adults. I know a lot of adults and parents that go through a divorce and feel majorly isolated and experience loneliness because they've lost a great group of friends in that separation. And so, things to minimize loneliness, because that's what I want everyone to be focusing on. There's 5 ways to minimize loneliness. First is to recognize that loneliness is a sign that something needs to change. If you're experiencing it, if you have that pit, it's a sign, hey, something's not right here. The second thing is to understand and take ownership of how it's impacting your life, physically and mentally and emotionally. Yes, it's hard to get up and get out. Yes, it's uncomfortable to sign up for new activities and events, to have different interaction with people that might be strangers. But until you understand what your loneliness is doing to you and how it's preventing you from being able to live your life and your true authentic self, it's going to be hard to make change. So take ownership. The third is consider doing community service or other activities that you enjoy. Get out there, make connections. 4 is focusing on developing quality relationships with people who share similar attitudes, interests, and values. I know a lot of people who rely and resort to their family, their blood relatives, to kind of fill or fix this sense of loneliness, when in fact those people aren't in alignment with the values or the interests that one has. And so be picky and choose, like be picky and choosy on who you uh, want to focus on and be intentional with surrounding yourself with. And then the last is expect the best. Lonely people often expect or anticipate rejection. So by focusing on positive thoughts and attitudes, your social relationships are likely to grow and evolve deeper sooner than you having that negative energy going into it, thinking that it's going to end before it even gets started. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you do, please share it with someone who you know may be struggling with feeling a little alone or lonely. And I'm always here to talk. So any feedback, any comments, concerns, you're beautiful. Keep it up. See you next week.